All right, everyone, we have a dueling incumbency right now. We have one person who is the Vice President of the United States running for office, running under the incumbency, of course, of Joe Biden. We have another person who is the former President of the United States. Alan Lichtman, by the way, the other day, totally goddamn hedging his bets. If you didn't see his comments with regards to the election the other day, you definitely need to see them. This was entirely predictable, and indeed was predicted by me, myself, and I. He's hedging his bets. It's quite clear. I would say that the incumbency technically goes to Donald Trump. He's the former president. Kamala has never been anything other than the vice president of the United States, and she served in other roles, but she's never been the president. Trump has. I would say that gives him, technically speaking, the incumbency. Now, before you had an incumbent versus a technical incumbent, advantage Biden. He's the president of the United States. And Lichtman is fundamentally correct with regards to that. Of course, the technical incumbency doesn't matter as much as the literal incumbency. But now you don't have that. And so that particular key to the White House is a little bit more up in the air now, isn't it? There's a reason why he's hedging his bets. He says, well, there's a real threat that Donald Trump will win the presidency. We need to take the threat seriously. He's clearly got TDS. And he's clearly worried. And, of course, he should be, because Donald Trump is at an advantage. If you look at the polling, if you look at the odds as far as the debate goes, and the odds making, it's advantage Trump pretty much across the board right now. I would favor him to win. I think that Trump has a 90% chance to win the election. Now, this is something that we have to keep in mind, and I'm always going to point this out, and then we point it out on the quartering live stream as well. Just because Trump has an advantage doesn't mean that he necessarily wins. You need to knock on doors, harvest a couple ballots, bring a reluctant friend to the polls. This election is a little bit too important to be complacent. I'm doing my part. I've donated to the Trump campaign. I speak out at all times in favor of the Trump campaign. Don't agree with everything that Trump says. Don't agree with everything that Trump did when he was in office. But there's a pretty stark difference between the two candidates. We need to acknowledge this. When the black pillars say, well, there's not really much difference, they're all the same. No. Not even close. Donald Trump didn't start a war. Kamala Harris of necessity will start a war. I guarantee you, if she's elected, she'll start a major war. Donald Trump lowered everyone's taxes. Kamala Harris wants to raise everyone's taxes. Donald Trump actually was held to account by the legacy media, including in times when he genuinely did fuck up. Kamala Harris is going to get the wagon circled around her. You know that they're not going to hold her to account or anything like that. There is a stark difference between the two candidates that are currently running for office. And no, I don't give a fuck about Jill Stein or Cornel West. They are completely meaningless except in the off chance that they siphon the occasional vote off of Kamala Harris, which I thank them for. I think that's a good thing. In the dueling incumbency thing, when we're talking about who's the real incumbent, technically you don't have one. But I would say Donald Trump is closer to incumbency than Kamala Harris. Again, she's never been the president of the United States. Donald Trump has. It doesn't mean that his term didn't lapse and that he's seeking a second non-consecutive term, but he's actually been in that role. Kamala Harris hasn't. She was basically a non-meet and greet VP anyway, and basically disappeared from the limelight completely and never said anything to anyone whenever possible. She was basically a no-show. Apparently was the last one in the room when the Afghanistan withdrawal happened and things like that. And I'm not surprised at that. Would you really want her in the room? I'm sure that Jill Biden had a role in this, by the way, was not happy about even having her around. They pose as besties, but I think that that's probably not true. In the dueling incumbency, which is of import, again, link in the description, archived of course, When we're asking this question, we've got to ask ourselves which one is more important. You're a former president, so you've been in that chief executive role, or you are the current vice president of the United States. I believe that the former is more important because it's actually the presidency. And so I don't think that the fact that you're the vice president of the United States is really particularly meaningful. It's not the same role. That's like saying that Mike Pence would have had some sort of advantage for having been vice president. By the way, coming out the other day and saying, in good conscience, I can't endorse Donald Trump. It's not really a non-endorsement. It's just more like sour grapes or something like that. Donald Trump tried to have me killed. This is Mike Pence in a nutshell. By the way, I warned about Mike Pence at the time, back in the 2016 election. Some people had a problem with this. They thought that I was wrong. I think that I was completely right. And just saying. But in the dueling incumbency, I would say Donald Trump has an edge. It's not a complete edge because he's not the current president of the United States. But at the very least, he has been one. As opposed to Kamala Harris, she has not been one. She's been VP. That's perfectly fine. I mean, it's a quasi-incumbency. It's almost a race between two quasi-incumbents. Like Alan Lichtman is hedging his bets. He's probably going to give 6 keys to each candidate and say, well, I don't know exactly about the incumbent issue, and so he can't be fucking wrong. That's a real big tell now, isn't it? He can't be wrong. Well, if Kamala Harris wins, well, yeah, because the key went to her because she was part of the current administration. If Trump wins, well, the key went to him because he was actually president at one point and Kamala wasn't. He's hedging his goddamn bets. He has no clue what's going on. He's trying to fit into a no-lose situation, and it's very, very funny to me. Myself, I will hedge my bets on Donald Trump. I believe that he will win re-election fairly handily and defeat Kamala Harris. I'm really hoping that he does as well because Kamala scares the goddamn shit out of me. It's a little bit like a less coherent version of Hillary Clinton with more sociopathic tendencies. I don't think that that's really going to work at this point in time. I think that's a bad idea. That's about all. Peace out.